Hey everybody, this is David with Night Rider MTB, and this was a really exciting race. Unfortunately, my back camera decided not to work for me. I was trying to get it turned on and just decided not to mess with it at that point. So we're about to do 2 laps, and I'm really happy that the cameras made it all the way to the very end, so I got the finish on this race. It was pretty fast and flat, and a lot of roadie sections. And so I'm lined up here with the rest of the group. We had about 14 guys, and we're going to get started here in just a minute. We got a field start, and this heel, that's a guy who didn't start with his own group that just took off, not getting a head start. But anyway, so the field has a hill that we go up and down several times, and a lot of little hairpin corners and whatnot. Some guys really took off right out of the gun, and I decided not to go with them. Wasn't really sure what they were going to end up doing in the end, but they were going out pretty fast and hard, and I didn't want to go that hard. So I did my typical start. I found a few guys that I tried to follow, get good placement, and be where I wanted to be before we got into the single track, because that really makes a difference. If you don't accelerate enough to get in a good position, then you have to kind of sit in line and wait until there's an opportunity for you to get around the people in front of you. And unfortunately for some people, they made the wrong decision to go slow on the start. They got a little further back than what they wanted, and so yeah. So here we go. So that's Mackie and Leger taking off right off the bat, and they were getting pretty aggressive. This other guy jumps in front of me. I've never seen him before, and I decided, it looked like he knew what he was doing, so I'm not gonna fight him for position. And so I sat here in 4th place, and my chain ring, I just replaced that thing, and didn't have any problems with the race before, or not a lot. Yeah, I don't recall it doing this much, but it started rubbing on me, and every time I'd stand up to really crank into the pedals and put down some power, it started rubbing against the frame, and it's the right chain ring. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I've started tearing into the bike because I've got another race coming the very next weekend, so try to figure that out before the race comes. But anyhow, so these guys, they just tore out of here, and you can see they already put a big gap. So here comes Forrest and Pickle Juice, another David. Call it Weiss, Pickle Juice. I like Pickle Juice. So anyway, this is the feed zone, and we're about to hit single track here and some whoops. And I was starting to showboat a little bit, because there were so many people. This was awesome how many people we had spectating. I have not seen a race like this in a long time. And so when we were hitting these whoops, I was starting to try to jump a little bit to just give them something to see. Hopefully, I was hoping not me wrecking, because I'm not a great jumper. But anyhow, so when we were hitting them, I started noticing they were pumping the jumps and not jumping them, and they were getting gaps on me when I would try to jump them. So it was slowing me down, and they're going pretty fast, and I'm going at my limit, so I don't want to give them any advantage. So I stopped jumping after that. But we kept going here. We're all bunched up together. And, you know, usually I've got a rear view and you can see the guys behind me, but at this moment, you know, everybody's together. We got probably the majority of the group running right here, with 3 more guys up the trail a little bit. And at one point I told the guys in front of me, I told Forrest and Pickle Juice that they were up ahead, and they, you know, they were liking the pace they were running at, so, which I don't blame them. We were cooking through here, and you'll see here in a little bit though. They started stretching the gap and put some distance on me. At the speed we're going with the trees and everything, man, it just really didn't make for a good place to pass, even though the trail was pretty open. And I saw some pictures later on Facebook, Timbra, about how, you know, one of the guys getting wrecked into the tree gate and stuff. So, you know, so I had an issue with a guy during this race, a little bit of exchange of words. He thought I was trying to block him, which I wasn't. But, you know, I'm racing. I got my position. He didn't. And so when we hit the wide open sections, he didn't take the opportunity to pass me. Instead, he sits back there. And, you know, so what can you do? I'm not going to pull over and let somebody, you know, wave them on through or anything. You know, I'm sitting, 6th place right here, and I need the points. And this guy was not in the race for the points. He was just doing an individual race, which was hindering me if he gets in my way. So I had more to race for. Anyway, I'm still with these guys in front of me, and at some point you'll hear another guy, not that one, but a different one, asking to get by me. And we talked about doing where there was a split at. Once I realized the split he was talking about, I didn't want to take the long route because he was saying there was nobody behind him, but I could hear other people behind him, so I knew that wasn't correct, and so I didn't opt to take the longer route for him. Yeah, this was it right here. He wanted me to take that outside loop and let him pass me, and I didn't. So I did find a spot to let him get by though. But like you can see, I mean, these trees are blowing by. We're flying through the trail. It's probably about 17, 18 miles an hour through single track with, you know, corners and whoops, and, you know, you're not going to pass safely in that kind of situation unless you had a long straightaway, which there was not much of that going on through here. So, but yeah, everybody's still fresh and feeling good and excited and got the adrenaline rushing, so we're all ready to go. You can see Forrest and Weiss, Pickle Juice, are up the trail a little bit, but they're still in sight, and they're starting to kind of get out of sight. So here goes Daryl, and he's telling me to stay with him. And at this moment, I was feeling a little gassed and needing to just take it down a notch. So I didn't go with him. He was riding pretty strong. I did a Texas State time trial the day before, so that was why I wasn't feeling so fresh right now, because I went hard thinking I was actually going to get a good placement in that, and did not. So that was a lot of wasted energy that I did the day before, and did not set me up well for this race, which I really needed points in. So that was a mistake on my part. So anyhow, you can hear people back behind me. At some point, the guy that gets mad starts yelling at me. But I think that's a little ways up the trail here first. So we're just kind of running down the backside where there's not much spectator, but we get back over to, or spectating, but we get back over where there is some spectating, and the guy with the chainsaw, man, that was just freaking awesome. I was laughing inside as hard as I could, because it's, if you know anything about mountain bike racing, and if you watch or follow the UCI mountain bike races, especially on downhill, they have a lot of these chainsaws out there, just ripping the chainsaw basically. That was very, very comical. So I love that. I wish we had more of that. We need to get more guys like that out there cheering us on, because that gave motivation to keep going. Speaking of, this race started at 11:30 down in Houston, and it was humid and hot, and everybody was like saying, yeah, it's getting hot, so it's going to burn off the humidity. Well, I think I'd rather race in humidity than hot, humid weather. Oh, here's the section with all the spectators yelling and saying stuff, and I had a lot of people on my tail right there. You could hear I felt my chainring rubbing a bunch while I was hitting a lot of those corners. Every time I'd stand up to pedal, the chainring started rubbing on my frame. That was not good. So that was holding me up quite a bit. So I was thinking, I had a stall out moment, and that's where the guy got mad at me, and he was asking to get by, and it's like, I'm already jumping back on my bike. I'm just going to get on and go. We all both got to go, or I can just sit there and wait. Well, then I've got several more guys behind him, and so I jumped back on the bike, took off, and that really made me mad that I didn't just let him pass. Well, I knew there's a wide open section coming really soon here, and we get by and everything's good. And like I said, if you don't sprint, they say this all the time when you do watch that UCI stuff, if you don't sprint for position, then it's your fault for not getting in the position you wanted to be in. So, if he was really feeling that good, he should have went harder at the start and got a better position instead of trying to come from the back. So that's the way it is. And like I said, also, I'm racing for the overall position. I'm actually sitting at 6th overall, and with this race, it moved me up to 4th overall. And I've only got one more race to go, and I think I can maintain that position for Cat 1, so I'm happy with that. I didn't expect to be able to get 4th, and as of right now, that looks to be the case. That's, from the way everything broke down. So, so we are still going through the tight single track. That guy's been probably yelling at me. I can't hear him right now while I'm talking to y'all, but I know he's been yelling at me, and he's not saying a whole lot, but he's back there getting mad. And we'll come up to some open space, and then he doesn't initiate a pass, but other people do, and I let them all by. So I can't say that I was blocking anyone. That was just pulled up on the wrong side of the bed, I guess. But anyway, we'll have more to say about that later as the race goes on. So, this was put on by, let's see here, Gorba, Sugarland, and Wade kind of spearheaded the whole thing. Oh, here's this open section here. So one guy takes the opportunity to pass me, and I was like waiting for the rest of them to come around if they needed to. Nobody did, so we took off again. Still, like, I'm over to the left here, and I'm like waiting for somebody to come around, and it's like, okay, nobody's coming around. And when we're out in this grass, you kind of gotta just ride where you see the smooth spots at. So it's a good idea to say something when you're coming by, because you don't know if the guy's going to be. Here goes another guy by, but it's still not the same guy who got upset. And everybody was talking about him at the end of the race. He made an impression on everyone, obviously. So, but anyhow, yeah, I think he had a few more things to say through this section after he missed his opportunity to get by. Which I don't know what someone would expect in a race if you don't get up and move yourself up. What do you want? Do you want somebody to like pull over and give you a push by? I don't think so. So anyway, looking back on it, it's just funny. Some people just really are in a bad mood, I guess, or they get angry when they get the adrenaline going. Who knows? But this is like my happy place here, so I'm having a good time and enjoying the pain that I'm in doing all this. So this is David. Also, we got a lot of Davids in this group right here in front of me, and so I'm staying on him. He's rolling decent pace through the single section or this single track, but he gets gassed pretty quick, and he told me at the end of the race that he'd been sick leading up to it, so obviously he's been feeling like I would have the last few weeks, and so you don't have a lot of stamina in that, and he's actually one of the guys that I'm competing with for this overall position. So he and I are in tight competition for that, and he's trying to edge me out of it. It's good friendly competition, and so he had some of the bad luck that I've been having, and now it's my turn to, I guess, to capitalize on the moment. But so this year, I think the trail's about to go back into open section here pretty soon. And, see what happens.
Not any more than the guys in front.
Anyway, Wade did a really good job of organizing this thing and getting it all put together. And with all the people you saw in the beginning, there were just a ton of spectators, a ton of vendors. This reminded me of back in the day when mountain bike racing started out, and this was freaking awesome. So hats off to Wade for doing this the way it came off. It was a great production, race production, and he really put in a lot of work on getting everybody out there and getting it all going. Got a lot of sponsorship, and I hope this starts the wheel in motion for future races. Hopefully more of that type of venue and setup will start happening as a result of this. But yeah, this was amazing. So yeah, we're getting pretty close to the open section of the road. Everybody was calling these open sections, the roadie sections. So here is the start of it right here. And so again, I moved over thinking, and then this is where David also got gassed, and I tried to get by him before that tree came by, and I ended up accidentally pinching him. Didn't mean to, but he knew it wasn't on purpose, because I was talking to him as I was trying to get by. But so I was waiting for that guy to come around me, and he he doesn't, and I kind of just gave up on him, thinking that he must have gassed out. And then the next thing I know, the guy starts like swatting at me as he's coming by, because I kind of floated over on him. I didn't hear him coming up on my side, because like I said, I'm trying to move to the smooth sections of the trail, and so he's just being a real jerk. But whatever floats your boat, I guess. No harm done, really. Just like looked like he was trying to wreck me out and cause me to wreck. So and he's just doing a day race for himself and trying to ruin it for somebody who's been racing the whole season. So I got on his wheel and used the draft, and he started going a little slow it down, and was starting to hold me up. So I did what I was expecting him to do, because I could still see Mike up ahead and wanted to get back up to him. So he moves over and starts to take a drink. When he did this, I just decided to go on by, because he was just going way too slow. So I took off, left him behind, and checked times later, and I could tell I put some time on him and got out of sight from him. So he was no longer a concern, but for now he was still on my wheel, and you could hear him in the back yelling at other people, trying to get by them. And just there's no reason for that kind of attitude. We're all out here putting our time, effort, and money into having a good time, so we don't need anybody out here with a bad attitude doing it for the wrong reasons, right? But so this is Mike that I was talking about. I could still see up the trail, and I got onto his wheel, and then somebody else that came around with me when I passed the sun and ski guy, and he starts asking me at some point along this portion if he could get past, and I'm like, dude, this is windy, tight single track. I'm not stopping for you to pass me. And then he asked me to get past on the guy in front of me, and I'm like, hey, he's got a good pace. He's not holding me up. I'm not going to pass him either. Not right now. When he does slow down, then I'll pass him. It's like, I don't understand the urgency. If you start slow and end up in a bad position, pass when the passing is available. You just missed a wide open, several 100-yard section of passing. Nobody could block you on. Plenty of room, plenty safe, and now you want to pass in this. Come on, dude. So, yeah, I don't know. People were really not riding smart. Maybe it was the heat getting to them, making them not think clearly. But I didn't let that get to me. And I know Mike from previous races, and I know he's fast, and he usually places in the top 5, which I think that's where he ended up today on this race. And so yeah, that's why I was just letting him pace me out a little while, until I could get where I could get back in the open section, because that seems to be where I'm stronger. And then also I couldn't do any quick accelerations, because everywhere I started to really dig into it, my chainring would start rubbing on the frame again, and that plagued me this whole race. That was really annoying and bothersome. I'm not sure if you race, you understand. It's like when you got things going on that are not right on your bike, it bothers you and distracts you from the pain and suffering in a bad way, not in a good way, and slows you down more. So this is just a guy from another group that we passed there,
Yeah, right.
not from ours.
juice this morning.
And Mike here, he's not even in the overall either. So we had a lot of guys show up on this race that were not in the overall contention, and that's good for the organization, the racing, people putting on the race, gets them more sign-up fees, but it actually gets in the way of us guys who are committed to doing the whole season, and they take points away from us when they're placing ahead of us, doing their one race they came out to do and not the whole season. So here I tried to crank it up this hill, and again, chain ring starts rubbing. I knew the guy that was behind me asking me to get a pass was going to come around, so here he goes here, and then I just jump on their wheel, let them go. I expected, if that other dude was still back there, he'd pass, and never heard anything from him or anybody swatting at me when they try to cut me on the inside or something. So at this point, I just forgot about him. He blew up and went backwards, which he did at this moment. And so I see some stuff up here, like from these two, where they kind of cut the lines a little bit, and it's like, this is the obvious trail. This gravel section, not the grass off to the side. You can use the whole trail to its extent, but when you start like shortcutting corners and stuff like that, it's not real. I don't think that's really the best idea. Like we take the grass there, and I think that's totally fine because you're looking for traction on that, and it's also within the markers of the trail here. But there was one section where I was kind of following him, and then I saw, going outside the markers to shortcut the trail, and I'm like, that's not right. So then I started making sure I was in the trail, and they kept doing that. And but you could see there was a lot of people doing it, a lot of tire tracks in the grass, and I just think that's just poor decision making on a racer's part. This right here is where I was talking about. You can see the markers, but I think it was marking that culvert. The true markings were on the outsides that you can see where they continue. But I feel like this gravel is the actual trail. You can use the whole thing, but you're really better off using the gravel because it actually rolls faster than that grass does anyway. But you can see the markers pointing us back into the grass now. So yeah, anyhow, that's my soapbox for that. I just think it's cheap to try to ride off the trail. If there's not a tape blocking you or something, you should just stay on what's obvious, leave the trail. But anyway, we keep going, and they slowed down on that part, and that's why I went ahead and went on around them. I felt like, I was having to back off a little bit to stay behind them, so I'm like, well, if they're slowing down, I might as well go on around them. Maybe they're really feeling it. So I went ahead and passed them. Could tell I put a gap on them a little bit. Not much, but some. And went back into the single track. So at this moment, everyone that had passed me, after all that single track, I ended up passing back because they were, not pacing themselves well enough. And so all this arguing about, you blocked me, you slowed me down. Well, then you can't maintain speed, stay in front of me, and I have to pass you back. It's like, get out of my way. So this section here, man, it's bumpy. I could hear Jamie back behind me talking to me. just saying, man, it's beating you up. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's like this really rough section. And I think it's brand new. But yeah, it was just rough. I was glad I was on a full suspension and not a hardtail. Because I think some people probably thought hardtail would be the way to go on this one to really go fast. This right here would make you change your mind. But we're coming up. I think we're about, let's see here, 3 minutes, a little bit over 3 minutes maybe, from finishing our first lap. And, Jamie's staying with me. I think Michael's back there too. And I think that's it. I think we're just running a group of 3. And I never heard him. Michael doesn't ever say a word, even when he came around me again. And I almost clipped him, or clipped me, whatever. Again, it's like, let the person know when you're coming by them, in case they don't hear you, because they're just moving around in the trail to make the ride as smooth as possible. If you just sneak up, cut through there, make sure you got enough room to do it. Don't do it on the inside of a corner and expect them not to be coming back in on you. But yeah, so we are just moving along. Everybody seems to be kind of settling in at this point finally. And it's getting hot. I'm sweating pretty good, feeling it pretty good. The temperature's up there, hotter than you're used to, and the humidity hotter than you're used to. If you've ever raced or did some hard effort in humidity that's higher than you live in, that really puts a hindrance on your performance, because you can't cool down as well as your body not acclimated to it. You actually have to acclimate to the heat. So it's hard to just jump into heat and perform well. But yeah, so we're I think this might be where we're still a little bit more single track, and getting close to where it opens back up again. It's that little short section that runs back over to the other loop. I don't know the names of these loops. It's the first time I've ever raced in this area. So yeah, so here's where it opens back up, and I think this is where Mike passes me. Let's see. So I'm like looking for smooth sections. Seeing that. I guess maybe not. I can't remember. I know it's one of these areas where he comes back around and passes me. And, like I said, I just kind of like I'm not going to just sit here and ride a straight line through rough terrain. I'm going to go side to side wherever the smooth trail takes me, and less gravel. So that's why you need to really let people know when you come through. And again, I had no intentions of blocking anybody. I'm always the easiest person to pass, and will let you by if I can. So, but if I don't feel like it's safe to pass me, or if you're going to really hold me up, then I'm not letting you by, because I've worked to get to where I'm at in that position, and you're going to have to work to get past. Which makes total sense. So nobody's going to give anybody the race. So yeah, this is a little bit more single track, and then it opens back up into that starting loop that we do. So really good design to the race loop for the terrain. That wide open field was really bumpy, had a lot of big potholes, and they actually tried to fill some of them. But yeah, it was still pretty rough. But they did the best they could with what they were dealing with there. So hats off to them for all that effort. But we come. This looks like maybe this is where it's at. I think this is it. I think we're getting. Yeah, there it is. So it's opening right back up here, and then we come around across the finish line for the first lap here. And so yeah, nobody tried to pass me back there, and they didn't even try to pass me out here in this open section again. Plenty of opportunity to pass again. So I don't know why people had to argue and be trying to force passes in the tight stuff. It's just it just irritates me to no end. Because I passed everybody when it was safe to pass, and if I got stuck behind somebody, it's my own fault because I didn't get around them when I could, like say the start or in the wide open sections. So I think that's just the lack of experience on a racer's part, putting yourself in a bad spot and then expecting people to make opportunity for you to go ahead and get on by because you feel like it's time now. And it's just not the way it works. You gotta make the best of your situation and pass when you can. And if you can't pass, then that's your own fault. So, yeah. So we're rolling on here, and this is where Mike passes me out now. I remember now. So we come around here, it kind of straightens up after another turn, I think, and then Mike comes around me, and that's where he almost takes me out because he doesn't say anything when he comes by, just like this right here. Because I was dodging all these potholes that you see the sand in, and I clipped into him, and he'd say something, and he still doesn't say anything, just silent as can be. He must have been really hurting or something, I don't know. But he goes on, and then Jamie's still on my wheel. And so I grab a bottle here, spray it on me, try to cool off a little bit, and then keep going. I'm trying to stay with Mike through all this section again. This is all the beginning loop again here that we had already been through. So we're doing the second lap now. And he kind of turns it up. He's obviously recovered and going a little bit faster now. And so he gets on up there a little ways. And at some point, Jamie behind me says, "Hey, let me pull for a little bit. Let me get in front and pull for a little bit." So I'm like, yeah, sounds great to me. And but it doesn't happen for a little bit. But yeah, so he gets in front of me, and then we take this off-camber dip turn. Has a lot of debris on the outside, and I hit it. My tire grabbed something, or did not grab something more like, and washed out, went down hard, and then Jamie used that opportunity to put some distance on me and time. And I was like, it just, that was a defeating moment for me. Here we had a lot of people getting through. That's what happened here. So I was staying with Mike through here pretty well, and then all these guys just caught up to us all of a sudden and were passing us, and they're from a different class, so they're not in our group racing, and so I'm trying to get out of their way as much as I can. Like I said, this is a hard section to pass in, but that's not on them. That's just try to yield to first place racers. I expect them to do that for me, so I'm trying to get out of their way, let them by. And that's still Michael up ahead, still staying with him, but every time these guys pass, it gives him opportunity to kind of like sneak away a little bit. So here comes by another guy. And so yeah, that just keeps happening because you have to slow down and try to move and find a spot, and then you're like, okay, pass now, and then they're like, trying to get by you, and then they're not coming by as fast as you were hoping they would, and trees are coming, and you're like, get by now before I cut you back into that tree, because I don't have any room over here, which is why it's too hard to pass in this section. So yeah, a lot of that happening, and like I said, so that gave Mike a opportunity to sneak away once all these guys were passing us and get by. I'm talking back to Jamie, asking if there were more people coming. And, so yeah, and then we're getting close to where Jamie wants to decides he wants to come on by after all the traffic's gone by us.
Go for it. Hurry up, hurry up. Go for it, hurry.
But
hurry. Come on, you got it.
Yeah,
go,
that's
go,
another group racer, different group racer. Same with that one. So again, like I said, lots of opportunity to sneak away while you're dealing with all this traffic, because you may not be letting him pass as easy as I am, and so I'm slowing down while he's still hauling along, and then I have to try to accelerate more to catch back up to him. I believe at this moment is where he actually got away from me, because of all that. I don't know, that was like 5-6 guys at least that went by us at that moment. And so yeah, it was not ideal for the race, but nothing you can do about that. It's just part of it. You just do the best you can while you're dealing with all that. And again, you're the person coming from behind expecting to get by and this stuff, and kind of like the official was saying at the very beginning, you respect their race and they'll respect yours, hopefully. And so yeah, I was trying to respect the race, but I was also messing up mine. I was giving them too much leeway and letting this guy get ahead too far from me. So you can see now there's nobody in front of me, and I can't see Mike anymore. And so I'm going to get straight, so I can try to put the gas on to see if we can reel him back. And I'm really starting to feel the pain and efforts I've put in from yesterday and out today. And so I'm probably, I feel like I'm still riding pretty fast, but I'm probably riding slower than I should be. Would be if I was fresh for the race, which was my mistake. That Texas State Trial Championship, I've always wanted to do that since I got back into racing, and I just so it was right there in the same area, only an hour drive away, which was still a lot. It was the best case situation for me to try it. So I did. Paid the price afterwards for this race. So I'm not going to let that happen again for this last one. Some fitness for the very last race, so I can finish it off strong. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, I think we're coming up on the section here where by. He wants by. I let him by. And so he's going to pull for me a little bit. Actually, I think I passed somebody. This one guy was a straggler from a different group, and eventually, I think I see him up there, caught up to him, and we, once we got to him, I passed him. Jimmy wanted to get by, and then he gets by, and I wreck. That guy gets back by me, and then I gotta pass him again. And then I'm trying to chase Jamie to back down. Jamie knows that I'm in his group, so he's trying to take full advantage of the opportunity to get away from me while he can, because he hasn't been able to up to this point. And that's actually racing there. To take advantage of the opportunity you get. You don't want people to, you want to beat them outright, but if you can't beat them outright, they have a problem. It's still racing. That's your problem. So we're getting pretty close here. Let's see here. We're at about 43 minutes into the race, I think, and my total race, my lap time was an hour and 6 minutes. It's change. So I've got about 21 minutes left in this race. And I'm getting a little weak. I hit some gels somewhere along the way through here. I think I got them down. If I remember correctly, I think I put down the last one out in the open on the turn of the lap, or else I did it over here somewhere. I don't remember where I did it exactly, but I was just trying to be able to get them down fast enough before the end of the race, and I'm trying to drink. Not feeling the best right about now, but this is the straggler that I was talking about. It's coming back to me now. Coming back, getting closer and closer to him. So I'm expecting that Mike would be not too much further ahead of him. And so I don't know, but I haven't seen Mike anywhere. And because this guy went with Mike and was staying with him pretty good. He had wrecked, and that's when we caught him. And Mike had passed him, and then he took off and followed Mike. Now I'm finally catching up to him. At some point, we make the pass. Me and Jamie both make the pass on him. And then Jamie makes the pass on me. So it's hard to corners all look the same now. Zipping back and forth. Trees. Poison oak. My eyes have been itching ever since this race. See all these vines going up these trees. I think some of those poison oak or poison ivy too. But so yeah, you can see him standing up the climb. I was sitting there wishing I could stand up and climb, but my crank was like it rubbed a little bit on the pre-ride, then it rubbed a little more on the first lap, and then it started rubbing a lot more on the second lap, so I think I got a bad bearing in the bottom bracket. When I replaced the chain ring, I noticed a variance was crunchy feeling, so placing that bearing before this next race. Thankfully, I get the parts in. Hopefully, it's the right size. So yeah, I made the pass on that guy, and then Jamie didn't come around me in the wide open section. Instead, he wants to pass me in this tight single track. Go figure. Everybody's doing that. I don't understand that. I want to be passing somebody who's the best place to pass them, not the worst place to pass them. Because you have to expend a lot of energy, as well as the other person has to really cooperate and actually slow down for you to pass them. Otherwise, you're not going to get by. That's just the way it is. And asking somebody you're actually racing against to slow down and let you by doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't understand that at all. It's just not how the cookie crumbles when you're racing each other. You see it in the other sport. Hey, you, slow down. Let me pass you, please. Thank you. So, you're supposed to be passing. You have the best opportunity to pass. And not just, okay, I caught up to you. Let me by.
We'll see.
So,
Okay.
try to get off of that one. There's just a lot of that going on during this whole time. A lot of poor decision making on everybody's part. So, yeah, I think we're, yeah, here goes Jamie by. He wanted by, he's like, let me pull for a little bit. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm feeling tired, weak. I would love a draft. I know the roadie section's coming up, and I could use this draft through that, and then I could pass him right before we go back to single track, and then right here's where I waxed out, and then there goes that guy that I already passed once. And my shoe had come unbuckled when I did that, and that's one of the faults of BOA buckles, if you know what that is. And so I had to reach down and ratchet it back up on both of them, and then try to get going again. And it just, this wreck just really broke my rhythm. I kind of felt defeated at this point, and I knew Jamie was going to drop the hammer because he heard me go down, and right after he just passed me and was going to, quote, air quotes, let me draft off him a little bit. I didn't get no draft, so yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, get back into the rhythm, try to turn, get back up to that limit, because you're pacing yourself and you're trying to ride at your maximum potential. And when you have a wreck like that, it kind of pushes you over the edge for a minute. So you gotta recover. So that means you gotta slow down for a minute. And meanwhile, the guys ahead of you still in the rhythm, still on the bubble, and still pushing and getting away from you. And so then you're trying to, get all that back and then start trying to reel him back in, which that makes it really tough. So it's best to stay on your bike. Yeah, guess that. But yeah, I don't know why my front tire washed out right there, because I felt like I picked a good line, but it did anyway. So it was quick and I couldn't recover it with the off camber portion. But we, or me now, because I'm riding by myself, I kept going, looking for this single track to open back up to the road section so that I could see just how far ahead Jamie was, because I'm thinking in my mind I'm going to try to reel him back in here. So right here I hit this open section, I'm looking up the way for him, see that other guy, but then Jamie's like way up there. I got sweat all over my glasses, so I'm like having a hard time seeing. I couldn't see Jamie in this section right here. This is going back into some area, but like right here, we have a big wide open section, and it kind of curls around, and I think right here I can see him all the way over on the other side, and I'm like, wow, he put a lot of distance on me. And so then I'm looking at this guy in front of me thinking, I want to pass him before we get back to the single track, not wait till the single track and then try to pass him. So I started going faster, catching up to him, looking for the smooth spots in the trail, meaning hard packed, least rolling resistance. Go on by, and then I'm turning the corner here. Oh, this is what I was talking about right here, where it curls around. I could see Jamie way over on the other side somewhere, and I'm like, oh crap, it's way further ahead than I was hoping. And so I got a lot of work to try to do to catch him. He's looking back going, this is where I need to empty the tanks, because he's got the gap, a big one at that, and he was riding a little faster than me on the single track, although we were pretty evenly matched in the single. Not like I could stay with him, but he knew I was faster than him on this open section, so I'm sure he was really just giving it all he had to get through there and get on to the single track where he could continue to put more time on me, which he did. So I could see him, I'm chasing, I'm thinking I'm going to reel him back, and I'm going to really try to go through this section here before we open back up to the wide open and get up to him. And I come out of this single track and could not see him anywhere at that point. And I'm like, well, crap. He did what I was afraid of. He got to the single track and put more time on me, and now he's out of sight. So I started feeling a little defeated at this moment. And so what I was thinking to myself is, Jamie's far enough behind in points that I really don't have to worry about him. It would be nice to beat him just because, but him or the guy, Mike, the other guy that passed me earlier and got away with all that traffic passing us, neither one of them matter for the overall for me. They're just taking points in the overall away from me by placing ahead of me. So that's how these individual racers, meaning where they're just coming out and racing the one race and not doing the whole season, that's how they hurt the people that are doing the whole season, is they are getting placement that you would have gotten if they weren't there, and taking that away from you. But that is racing, that is part of the deal, and you just need to be faster than them anyway, even if that is the only race they come out and do all season. So Jamie was not, he's been racing all season, so he's definitely in competition. I am trying to recover. I'm drinking more fluids, trying to get the last of my fluids down, because I know if I don't, I could potentially start cramping up here at this moment. And I'm thinking I don't want to do that, because I have to maintain a smooth flow through a lot of this up and down stuff in order to avoid making my chain ring rub on the frame. That was really a big issue. This whole season's been kind of hard. So So I'm really happy with where I'm placing it right now because of I've had 2 flats. Now this chain ring issue, I threw the chain in the previous race, plus being sick. So I've had a lot of stuff happen for me that's gone against me. I really don't think that I could beat the guys in first through third. But it would be nice to know that for a fact without any of this other stuff happening to me. And it definitely would not have been as close as it has been had I not had all these issues during the season. But that is part of racing mountain bikes. It's the mechanical issues that will come up from riding the dirt. It's pretty hard on the bike. If you don't do your time with the tools on your bike, then you're not taking care of business as far as giving yourself every opportunity to be successful. Being sick, that just happens. Sometimes you get lucky and don't get sick a whole season, and sometimes you do. That's why they give you a couple of races. So right here is where I was like, hopefully I see him at the top of the hill when I come around that corner, and I didn't see him. I'm like, oh crap, he's completely out of sight. And so I'm thinking, I wonder if somebody's behind me. And about here, I looked back behind me, and yeah, there was somebody behind me. And guess who it was? It's a guy with a freaking attitude. I couldn't tell it was him, but I saw people coming, and I could see they were driving hard. And I'm thinking, it's got to be somebody from our group chasing me, seeing me up the road, being a carrot for them, making them go faster because they can see me, feeling that drive to be one place better successful. So I'm like, alright, all you got, empty the tanks. Let's see if we can maintain this gap all the way to the finish. And I didn't bother to look behind me again after that, because again, this is the moment where it's like I'm thinking about where I'm placed at, my points, the overall potential. I'm really hurting at this moment. The guys in front of me are out of sight, so like the moment of defeat is setting into me. Okay, I'm gonna let them go. The points don't matter to me. The points that I lost letting them go is not as detrimental, because the guy behind me, who's actually ahead of me, I got him behind me, and I know he's at least more than one position behind me, so I'm getting multiple points on that. And so I'm like, okay, so if this person behind me catches me, passes me, so what? But I'm going to try to ride as hard as I can to avoid that. And if this guy would have just played it cool and said, hey, I'm coming by, and I would have let him by, I wouldn't have beat him. He would have got by, because like I said, I was already feeling defeated. Lost the rhythm from that wreck, and got, lost the time on Jamie, and all that happened, and so then I just, everything was just kind of coming together to make me not try anymore. But right about here, I'm thinking, okay, turn it up, and I'll hit this single track, and hopefully this guy doesn't catch up to me during the single track. And so nothing happened through here, nothing happened in the single track, and we did. I started to forget about the person behind me. I was sitting there thinking, well, I'm getting really close, and it's all good. We're almost done here. I've got less than probably, I think it's about 5 minutes or less left in this race. So, yeah, probably 6 minutes, 6 or 7 minutes left in the race right here. Here we hit I hit the single track. I don't really hear anybody behind me, so I'm happy about that. I'm going through the single track as fast as I can. This is that rough, new single track, or I think it's new. It looks new. And it's real rough. And getting through that as fast as I can. And when you're at the end of a race and you're hurting, you're hot, you're sweaty, going through this rough section just really starts taking a toll on you. It's just beating you up the whole time. It's like, oh man, just make it stop. Why did I do this? Kind of thing. But thankfully this was not a very long section, so I wouldn't have liked doing that for miles and miles. But, so anyhow, I'm hoping still, one of the guys gas out and I catch up back up to him, of course, but I'm not holding my breath on that. I'm just biding my time. I know I'm close. I'm probably checking my distance right about now. I'm just thinking, all right, I got this many more miles to go, or this much more time to go, or I'm just like trying to give myself mental motivation to keep the hammer down, to not let up, and finish the race stronger than I'm feeling right now. And I still got a hope that the guy behind me that's chasing hard for me is further back, because I don't hear him on my wheel, and there's not anybody back there talking to me or anything like that, so I don't know that there's, I'm thinking nobody's behind me, and I'm not going to turn around and look in this section because that's a recipe for disaster. So just listen and hope at this moment. But yeah, so there's a open section that's going to come up, and we jump out onto the road and then quickly come back into a little bit more of this single track, and then it's the finish after that. So again, like I said, I'm really excited that I got to finish on this recording. This is the first time the race has gone by fast enough for me to still have battery life left on my GoPro, which they would record this high quality resolution for a longer time than this. But unfortunately they don't. So here, I think we're coming up on it pretty soon, where it opens back up. You're probably going to hear me cussing here in a minute. So, some thick vegetation out here, a lot of trees, brush, and vines, poison ivy, all that good stuff. So, yeah, I think I'm probably taking the last few drinks off of my hydration pack. It's called the U-Sweet. Straps on pretty tight, but then shake around on the bag. Oh, here's the open section. Okay, so Alright, opens up to the right, and right here he starts swatting and yanking at me, and like, I call it a hook pass, and then later realized, you know, that's not a term people understand, but where he reaches up and grabs my hip and tries to pull me backwards while he goes by. And so he pissed me off enough, got my adrenaline back up, and gave me hope again. Had he just passed me and been cool, I'd have let him go on by and just been done with it, because I was really deep in the pain tank. But since he pissed me off so bad, I was like, okay, fine. So I stood up, passed him back, got back into the single track in front of him, and I'm just like, you know, whatever I can do to beat this guy, because he's been a complete, total jerk the entire race to everybody. And then to finish like that, he's sitting there saying, "Oh, that's just racing." Well, no, that's not how you race. That's just how you be a jerk. But yeah, so I'm like, okay, single track, it's going to open up, we're going to finish, I'm going to outsprint for the finish, I'm not going to let this guy beat me, because he just doesn't deserve it anymore, and so I'm going to give it everything I got, and then some. And I didn't realize there was actually another guy right behind him that was in our group as well, so had he been cool, I'd have got passed by him and the other guy most likely, because they were both right there on my tail, and I didn't know it. So we get ready to hit the open here, and as soon as one of the guys decided to show me their wheel coming up by me, I dropped the hammer and went all out, full gas, and beat him to the line. So thanks to that guy for pissing me off enough to make me try hard and keep my position. Remember to subscribe to my channel for more videos, and thanks for watching.